What are habits? To understand how to break your bad habits and nurture the good ones, you'll first have to understand what habits are, from a psychological and medical point of view. This includes the definition of what a habit is and how it is formed. Habits are ingrained behaviors that we have learned over a period of time. They shape the very fabric of our everyday lives, containing the routines and activities that shape our existence. These are the actions we do almost subconsciously, such as how we brush our hair, tend to our teeth, nourish ourselves, and rest our tired bodies. These habits serve as anchors that sustain our day to day lives, even in moments of sadness and lack of motivation. When you make something into a habit, it means that you are more likely to take part in that activity when you wouldn't usually feel up to it, had it not already been a habit. If you've always made your bed in the mornings, you don't need extra motivation to do so because it's already a habitual activity. However, if you're starting to go for a walk in the mornings or go to the gym, you may find yourself slacking because it's too cold or you don't feel up to it. If it had become a habit, you would triumph over small obstacles and not allow them to get in the way of accomplishing it. It is also good to note that habits are mostly context based. What I mean by that is, your surrounding environments, the people you're around, and the situations you find yourself in are all things that trigger habitual behavior. Here's a simple example of this. In your own home, when you wake up in the morning, your bathroom is to the right. So habitually, you turn right, even if you are half asleep. You then stay over at a friend's place where the bathroom is to the left. So you habitually turn right and end up walking face first into a wall, slightly confused until you recall that you are not in your own home. Had you first woken up properly and become aware of the fact that you are in a friend's house and not your own, your habitual reaction would not have been there, because the context of where you are has changed. I'm sure many of you can relate to experiencing a similar situation, even if the details are slightly different. Habits can be formed both consciously and subconsciously. This means that you can unknowingly develop a habit, or you can decide to develop a habit. Habits are formed by consistent repetition of tasks or activities, such as consistently rising at a specific hour every day to outsmart the traffic, or always eating lunch at the same time every day. You may find yourself waking up at that time over weekends too, or find yourself getting hungry at the same time each day. These habits are formed by persistently repeating the task over time, as habits don't pop up overnight. Since habits are formed over time and with consistency, changing them requires patience and persistence. It's important to be gracious with yourself as you take on this task because struggles can come along at any point in your journey. With the right tools and strategies, though, change is possible. We will explore these tools and strategies deeper into this book. Why do they matter? Habits hold significant importance because they have an impact on the way that we live our lives and influence our behavior in various situations. If you have positive habits like regular exercise, healthy eating, and getting enough sleep, your quality of life, from a health point of view, is greater than those that do not have those same habits. When it comes to bad habits, the severity of how bad the habit is can range from, "It's not the best thing to be doing," to, "Wow, that is truly a terrible idea that has the potential to ruin your life." Among the more severe habits are those associated with drug and alcohol abuse. Formed habits can spiral into addiction, and addiction can result in devastating outcomes that can profoundly impact one's life. Ensuring that you break the cycle of bad habits and create good, healthy habits will help you lead a more fulfilling, positive, and happy life. The best part is, habits can be extremely efficient ways to accomplish the little tasks. How do they impact daily life? First, forget inspiration. Habit is more dependable. Habit will sustain you whether you're inspired or not. Octavia Butler. I think Octavia Butler really nailed it on the head. Habits are the things that you rely on each day to make your life a little easier. Imagine if you had to consciously make an effort to do all the things that are habitual to you. Turning the lights off in a room when I'm done with them, and locking my car or house when I leave are habits I have cultivated that make my life easier and have proven beneficial. This is slightly reminiscent of how one must remind little children to brush their teeth in the morning and at night, or put their laundry in the hamper. Usually, those type of tasks are ones that most people have made into a daily habit. We usually don't realize the extent to which our habits affect our lives. Not until we actually think about each of the habits that have become part of our routines. If you sit down, analyze your daily routine, and list all of your unconscious habits that take place, you may be surprised at what you find. Since we have developed these habits, we forget what it was like before they were a part of our daily lives. But as previously mentioned, not all habits are good ones. Now, let's take a look at the contrast between how good and bad habits can impact your daily life. Let's say that you are in the habit of waking up early, getting in some exercise, and eating a healthy breakfast before getting ready for your day. You've habitually prepared your lunch to take to work the night before, and it's ready to grab on your way out. As you leave, you do just that, and you leave home feeling refreshed, awake, alert, and prepared for the day ahead of you. This leaves you feeling in an all-around positive mood for the rest of your day. Now, let's say that you're in the habit of waking up just in the nick of time, with no exercise, only a quickly downed coffee, a quick shower, and rushing out the door to get to work. You leave home feeling like you're still half asleep, stressed to arrive on time, and to top it all off, you don't have anything packed for lunch. This means you must go to visit the deli for lunch or grab fast food, which takes up more of your valuable time and can be quite unhealthy. Or perhaps you decide to just skip lunch rather than go buy something. All of this leaves you feeling stressed and unprepared for the day ahead of you. And if you didn't end up eating lunch and you were anything like me, you then finish out the rest of your workday hangry. I assume you could guess which version of you will be having the better day. This is how your habits impact your daily life. And you can now see how important it is to create positive, healthy, and beneficial habits. Changing your habits. The world as we have created it is a process of our thinking. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking. Albert Einstein. The thought of changing your habits might provoke emotions of excitement, fear, or maybe a little bit of both. Perception is key in this matter. If a habit excites you, chances are you will be more likely to make the effort to develop it through routine actions that will benefit your daily life. If a habit makes you slightly apprehensive, you may be more inclined to avoid it altogether. As it implies that a change is necessary in your life, it all depends on how you perceive the change. It is highly beneficial to transform any negative thoughts about habit change into positive ones. By doing so, you'll discover that initiating these positive habits in your life becomes much easier. I'd like to share what author Gretchen Rubin called the state of mind that comes with habits. Deciding not to decide. She had to say this to explain what she meant by that. This is the key to decision-making, or more accurately, the lack of decision-making. A habit requires no decision from me because I've already decided. Am I going to brush my teeth when I wake up? Am I going to take this pill? I decide, then I don't decide. I act mindfully, then mindlessly. I shouldn't worry about making healthy choices. I should make one healthy choice and then stop choosing. The freedom from decision-making is crucial because when I have to decide, which often involves resisting temptation or postponing gratification, I tax my self-control. This just goes to show that changing habits can be difficult for anyone. But that doesn't make it impossible. The way you perceive it will have a huge impact on how you'll approach changing your habits. You can choose to make it an exhausting task, or you can choose to make it something that brings betterment and joy by improving your quality of life. Thus, Choose to make this a joyful, fulfilling experience because you have the power to shape your journey. The benefits. There are so many wonderful benefits to creating good habits in your life. We can identify these habits when we examine our physical aspect, mental aspect, and all the other dimensions of our humanity. The benefits all depend on which ones you choose to bring to fruition in your daily life. Let's have a look at just a few of the wonderful benefits good habits have to offer. Increased happiness. Coping with stress becomes easier. Positively influence those around you. Improved physical health and possibly a longer life. Increased self-confidence and self-respect. Consistently reach your goals. Cultivate greater respect from peers and colleagues. Improved focus, thus achieving greater success in your professional life. Maintain a more positive lifestyle. Become more productive in all areas of your life. To put it simply, every aspect of your life can be influenced by the habits that you have, whether they be positive or negative in nature. But the good ones hold the potential to bring you many more lifelong benefits. Let nothing and no one stop you from reaping those delightful rewards. The potential obstacles. As we've already discussed, changing your habits can be a scary task in itself. But there are other obstacles that may get in the way. According to ZenHabits.net, these are the main obstacles that you might face when making a decision to change your habits. Less motivation to make the change and replace a bad habit with a good one. Difficulty at times fighting temptation when trying to avoid a bad habit. Anxiety induced by fear of the unknown or simply fear of change. Negative self-talk due to intrusive thoughts. Concerns with time constraints restricting your ability to make the desired change. Resistance from other people towards the changes you want to make, such as friends, colleagues, teammates, etc. Other things in your life that might feel more important than the change you want to make. Doubts about your willpower to stick to the changes for long enough to successfully create the new habit. Guilt that might arise when you experience a setback at making the change. Remember though, you can always pick yourself up and try again. Don't stress or worry about these obstacles. By the end of our journey together, you will have the tools needed to overcome them all. Success is not a straight road, and it may take you many tries to achieve your goals. But you should have faith that you will succeed. What can you expect from this book? The purpose of this book is to equip you with the information and resources you need to dismantle the bad habits that you may have and forge new positive and beneficial ones in their place. I want you to finish this book feeling empowered and capable as you set out on your journey towards personal growth and transformation. We will first focus on learning about and understanding the habits that you already have and why they can be so difficult to break. You will learn how to assess each of the habits you have, from the good to the bad, and everything in between. Also, we'll go over how willpower and motivation play a role in changing your habits. As we look closely at bad habits, you'll learn how to identify the destructive behaviors that perpetuate such patterns. It's important to be aware that not every bad habit looks like a bad one on the surface. With this in mind, we will analyze the most common destructive behaviors in order to help you recognize them within your own life easier. That way, you can better understand the negative impact they can make, perhaps even on the lives of those around you. Through this journey, you'll gain a self-awareness that helps you identify these behaviors faster and successfully navigate the obstacles that come with breaking free from them. Once these detrimental habits have been shattered, it's crucial to start creating positive habits to replace the ones that had impacted you negatively. We will discuss the best strategies to maintain good changes that you want to make and how to create an action plan for these new habits. I'll give you invaluable insight into positive daily habits that can shape your future for the better and offer long-term benefits. Maintaining these new habits will be the glue that keeps it all together. We will delve into strategies to help you maintain your desired positive habits to the best of your ability. This includes fully embracing your personal journey, holding yourself accountable, all while remaining adaptable and flexible. There will be obstacles along the way, naturally. We will discuss how to overcome these obstacles and strategize accordingly. I will also give you some of the best tips to smash those setbacks. The benefits of positive habit change are abundant, and while we may not cover them all, we'll discuss several key ones. You will learn how to build up your own personal vision and maintain the motivation you need to reach that vision. So, what are you waiting for? Jump in! A brighter, better, more fruitful future awaits you, and I will be here with you every step of the way. Chapter 1: Understanding Your Habits. The key to changing our habits lies in understanding their inner workings and unraveling the motivations behind them. Our habits encompass the psychological tendency to repeatedly engage in previous behaviors. Our adult habits can oftentimes stem from our childhood, from washing your face every morning when you get up to having that afternoon nap. Many of these have been so ingrained from a young age that you barely even notice their existence. Of course, as we get older, we form different habits that are added to the ones we've already established. Every habit that you've shed along your journey, starting from your earliest days as a baby until now, require the determination to break free and open the door for new patterns to develop. Examples of the typical habits most of us have experienced breaking include being weaned off, sucking our thumb or a pacifier, wetting the bed, nail biting, interrupting others when they're talking, and screen addiction. You may not remember how difficult some of those were to break, but I assure you, your parents or caregiver remember. If you're a parent or caregiver yourself, you'll know the struggle that comes with breaking the small habits that need to fall away as your child grows up. As hard as it might be to help a child break habits that no longer serve them as they mature, it can be more difficult to support yourself in breaking patterns that keep you stagnant. So, how do habits work exactly? Habits develop through the collaborative function of two decision-making systems that lie within our brains. One of these systems is our subconscious, which helps us make decisions based on quick thinking, intuition, and patterns. Our subconscious is responsible for things that come naturally to us, including regulating automatic bodily functions and generating gut feelings based on subtle cues. In other words, our subconscious manages activities that require very little effort from our brains. The second system is a conscious one that helps us make decisions based on control and intention. This system is mostly used for things that are new or stressful to us, like learning how to use a new program for work or a new skill like playing the piano. These activities take conscious effort to master, so you need to think about every move that you make, about what the next step is, and how it all fits together. When your subconscious system is unable to find a solution, only then will your brain tap into your conscious system. When using your conscious system, your brain digs deeper to find relationships between patterns and effects that the subconscious isn't picking up on. In other words, the best way to form new habits will be to make the activity so natural that your mind moves from using the conscious system to using the unconscious system. Your habit should become as natural and easy as reading the words in this book. When that happens, you'll know you've successfully formed a new habit. To simplify habit formation, think about this. Repeatedly completing an action or task causes its integration within oneself. Think about what it was like learning how to do something new and now being able to do it with ease. The first couple of times, of course, took a conscious effort. You needed to take note of what you were doing and how you were doing it. Now that you've done the same thing for the upteenth time, you probably don't put much thought into it. Let's break this down even further. According to Duhigg, 2012, MIT researchers discovered that the core of our habits are formed by a neurological three-step process. 1. Cue. 2. Routine. 3. Reward. Let's have a look at each step individually. Step 1. Cue. This refers to some form of trigger that tells your brain to use the subconscious system to complete a specific task. And the aligning behavior will then begin. For example, you start yawning at your desk and losing focus at work. This triggers step 2. Step 2. Routine. This refers to the action or actions that you take to complete the task that was triggered. For example, you get up from your desk, take out your coffee mug, pour yourself some coffee, and drink the warm caffeinated beverage. Step 3. Reward. This refers to the reward that you get out of completing the action. For example, you start to wake up from the caffeine and can focus more easily on your work. This step is what helps your brain decide whether the reward is worth remembering the habit loop that is being formed. You may be thinking, but not all of my habits are driven by a reward. From the standpoint of consciousness, you aren't wrong. But subconsciously, there is some form of reward, no matter how small, from every habit that you have. We tend to form habits that have instant rewards easier than a habit with a reward that's given after a longer period of time. Notably, our experiences throughout childhood also play a big part in the habits that we pick up as we grow up and go through each new phase in our lives. Why are habits hard to break? The chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken. Samuel Johnson. As we discussed, a habit is an unconscious action or reaction that takes almost no energy to do. Because this behavior is being powered by the unconscious system in your brain, it is a learned behavior that will take time to unlearn and rid yourself of. One of the biggest reasons that habits are so hard to break is because, a lot of the time, we aren't even aware of the fact that we have them at all. You probably don't think about the way you walk, run your fingers through your hair, or how you laugh. All of these things are the kinds of habits you don't really need to change. But they do show you how habits can be formed without you even knowing that it's happening at all. These kinds of habits become almost hardwired into our brains, making the notion of breaking them that much more difficult. The fact is, a lot of the time we are too lazy to make the changes. Successfully changing a habit demands your unwavering commitment to push through whatever resistance you face. It also requires persistent effort and deliberate choices. You need to focus more and be fully aware of what you're doing and what the outcome will be if you continue doing it. The truth is, putting in the effort and making the change can be a lot more difficult than we'd like it to be. This is especially true when these hard-to-break habits have influenced internal systems like your internal clock. Kohler 2023 used the perfect example. Trying to wake up earlier can be challenging due to the body's circadian rhythm or internal clock, which opposes the change and results in feelings of fatigue and grogginess. I feel that it also explains why we may be hesitant to make the changes in habits because you may not get the immediate gratification that you've become accustomed to from the original habit. After all, the reward or instant gratification is the end goal of every habit that we've developed over the years, regardless of what the reward is. To add to the difficulty of changing or breaking bad habits, there is a concept called homeostasis, which is our body's natural impulse to keep a balanced internal status. When you start including new habits into your daily routine, you may feel like your body is trying to fight against you. This is because it's a new action or situation that your body does not recognize, and it throws off your internal balance. The struggle ends only when the new routine becomes a habit. But remember, there is always hope when it comes to breaking bad habits. Assess your habits, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Taking control and responsibility for one's habits is not the easiest thing to do. You need to be honest with yourself about the habits that may not be serving you anymore, or never really have. Owning up to personal faults and flaws can be difficult for anyone. Do take note that this isn't just about becoming conscious of the bad and ugly, but also the good habits that you may have, no matter how big or small they are. Refer to the following guide to assess each of your habits and decide what category they fall into. It's important for you to take stock of the habits that you have in everyday life so that you are completely aware of the impact they can have on your life in the long run. The practice of taking stock using a habit scorecard was developed by author James Clear. It is an effective and efficient way of deeply looking at every habit from a different perspective. First things first, you will need to make a list of your daily habits, starting from the moment you wake up. The list does not need to be detailed. Short and simple descriptions are perfect. Here's an example. Wake up, let the dogs out, check phone, go to the bathroom, shower, weigh myself, brush my teeth, floss, get dressed, dry hair, check social media, hang up wet towel, make and eat breakfast. Sure, all of these seem like tasks that have little to no real impact on your life. But as you list each detail, you may start to find that some habits are not as harmless as you once thought. The next step is to evaluate each habit and decide what category they fall into: good, neutral, or bad. Assign a symbol for each category. For example, good plus, neutral equals, bad minus. Your list may end up looking something like this. Wake up equal, let the dogs out plus, check phone minus, go to the bathroom equals, shower plus, weigh myself. This could be good or bad, as it may be due to an ED or something similar. Take that into account when deciding for yourself. Brush my teeth plus, floss plus, get dressed equals, dry hair equals, check social media minus, hang up wet towel plus, make and eat breakfast plus. Remember that the category you place each habit in is entirely dependent on your personal goals and your personal situation. Your goals can have something to do with mental health, physical health, career moves, or simply getting your life on track again. Of course, goals may vary from person to person. For example, getting dressed may be neutral to you. But for the person that has been depressed and barely has the energy to get up, it's a positive habit. Through this habit scorecard, you'll be able to really break down each part of your day and truly look at what is good and bad for you. What are the tasks that better your day, your mental well-being, your physical health, or even your loved one's condition? And what are the ones that impact you negatively, making your life more difficult than it needs to be or preventing you from moving forward towards your goals? The power of motivation, willpower, and self-discipline in habit change. Staying motivated throughout the process of changing a habit can be difficult. You might find yourself fighting against the automated tasks that you take part in due to already existing habits. It's easy for us to just give in and allow these automated actions or responses to take over when we're feeling deflated or defeated. When it seems like it doesn't matter what we do, it can feel like we just can't seem to change that habit. Personally, I often feel unmotivated when the task ahead of me seems too big or difficult. I'm fearful that I won't be able to complete the task. In some cases, I automatically try to take the easy way out and fall back into old routines that won't help me complete this new task. This is due to those old routines feeling familiar and comfortable. However, that is exactly why it is so important to keep yourself motivated and disciplined. If not, you'll be more likely to keep falling back into those old habits, not making the small changes needed to bring about the big changes you want. As previously mentioned, one of the most common barriers to overcoming fear in relation to behavior change is the overwhelming feeling that often accompanies it. To be able to make the behavioral changes that you want, you'll need to hold yourself accountable for your self discipline and willpower. We will dive deeper into accountability in a later chapter. Fortunately for us, there is a great method that was developed by Paul Branscombe, PhD, RD, an associate professor at the Kinesiology and Health Department of Miami University. The method that he developed is called the Act 2 method. He understood the fact that big goals or changes are overwhelming when you're only looking at what the end goal is. He developed this method specifically for long-term behavior change, which is what breaking and creating habits is all about. Act 2 helps you look at your long-term goals or changes that you want to make, and instead of focusing on the end result, the method that helps you break it all down into easily achievable day-to-day actions or behaviors. I'm positive you'd like to learn how to utilize this method, so let's get right into it. Let's say you have decided that you feel you're habitually lazy when it comes to exercise, and you'd like to change that fact. You would like to get off your butt and really start putting in some effort for your physical and mental well-being. So, you've decided that you'd like to get fit enough to enter a small local triathlon. You don't want to win it, you simply want to be fit enough to compete and complete the triathlon. Obviously, you can't just get up one morning, enter the race, and compete. Chances are, if you haven't trained, you may not even make it past the first leg of the race. And just knowing that it will take time and effort to achieve the behavioral changes can feel defeating. It's at this point we're going to break this down for ourselves. A. Action. What are the actions that you're going to take in order to achieve this behavioral change? Does it have something to do with running, swimming, going to the gym, biking, or working out with a friend? C. Context. Where will these actions take place? Are they specific to a certain location or certain situation? T. Target. What are the reasons behind the behaviors outlined under your action? What is it that you are hoping to achieve? Why are you running? What is the point of biking? T2. Time frame. By when do you want to achieve this goal? How long do you want the behavior to last? Are you going to go running for 30 minutes or an hour? Will you complete this behavior daily? To help you use the Act 2 method, Dr. Branscombe has a 3-step process to help you create your day-to-day behavior goals. This process is what will help you break down your massive ambition so that the goal is not as overwhelming as it seems. Step 1 is to list the broad behaviors that you like to achieve. As we know, getting fit is about exercise and healthy eating. Thus, we could break it down into these 2 broad behaviors. Training or exercising for at least 90 minutes a day, 15 days a week. Eating a balanced diet. Step 2 is breaking your broad behaviors down to more manageable and more easily attained behaviors or tasks, or as Dr. Branscombe calls them, sub-behaviors. If we focus on our exercising goal, we can break it down into the following sub-behaviors. I want to train or exercise for at least 90 minutes a day, 5 days a week. I want to run for 5 miles at least 2 times a week. I want to work out for 30 minutes in the mornings. I want to cycle for 1 hour at least 2 times a week. I want to swim for 1 hour at least once a week. You can break these sub-behaviors down even more if you wish and make the behaviors even smaller for yourself. For instance, you can break down running 5 miles twice a week to running 2 miles on 5 days of the week. This helps the 5 miles seem less daunting. Breaking tasks down into smaller behaviors makes them seem less intimidating. Now, you find yourself feeling hopeful and capable, which motivates you even more. Willpower and self-discipline are what will make you successful in the changes you're striving for. Step 3 is deciding for yourself what activity or behavior you'd like to start with. As we've discussed, the point of this is to make things less overwhelming and more plausible. Jumping into things and expecting yourself to be able to make these changes all at once can leave you feeling defeated before you can even make any progress. Thus, with each behavior being broken down and then broken down again, you can find something that you can choose to start with that is completely doable. By gradually incorporating smaller behaviors into your daily habits, you'll find yourself making changes at a manageable pace. As fantastic as the Act 2 method and the process that makes it work is, it cannot be achieved unless you have self-discipline and are committed to making the changes, however small they may be at first. If you allow yourself to lose motivation for the goals that you've set yourself, you may have to start all over again. It's absolutely okay to start over multiple times, since what really matters is your continuous effort and determination. Your willpower will be the driving force behind breaking free from those unbeneficial habits. It is an intimidating task at hand, but remember why you're doing this. Keep reminding yourself how amazing it will be when you've created habits for yourself that benefit you daily and improve your quality of life. Whenever you feel yourself slipping, keep in mind every good that will come from these changes. A great future filled with endless possibilities is among of the many positive factors that should drive you and sustain your motivation. You deserve to live a life that fills you with joy and makes you excited about each new day. Chapter 2: Breaking Bad Habits. A habit cannot be tossed out the window. It must be coaxed down the stairs, a step at a time. Mark Twain. Breaking any bad habit that you may have is not going to be something that happens overnight. Be kind to yourself and acknowledge that change takes time and effort. Challenges can arise and feelings of discouragement may surface. Remember to give yourself a break and remain committed to your journey, knowing that progress is made through perseverance. It's been said that it takes about 66 days to form a new habit, so your persistence will be the key to your success. While it may be a challenging and gradual process, it's important to keep in mind that it's not impossible. There are no limits on how many times you can try again and restart the process. To paraphrase Jamie Escalante, it doesn't matter how many times you fail, only how many times you get back up. Identifying destructive behaviors. First, you want to know what is considered a bad habit. Here are 3 characteristics that are included in identifying a bad habit. 1. A bad habit may cause you to lose sleep. 2. A bad habit may have a negative impact on your physical or mental health. 3. A bad habit may evoke feelings of guilt or shame. In Chapter 1, we discussed how to assess your daily habits and decide which of them are good, bad, and neutral. There may be other bad or destructive habits that you have, but may not unconsciously be aware of, and thus did not add to your list. They may be habits that are not something you do on a daily basis, but destructive habits that are automated responses to a certain situation, person, or environment. The best way for you to find out about these is to ask those around you, like your partner, friends, family, or even colleagues. They see things from an outside point of view, and behaviors that you may not have realized were destructive may surprise you. Allow the people in your life to be honest and open with you about what they see. Let them tell you why they feel the action or behavior is destructive, and how they feel it could impact you or those around you negatively. Try your best not to be offended, defensive, or angry about what they have to say. Remember, these people care about you, and you are asking them for their help. Let them help you. Once you've identified the destructive habits or behaviors in your life, it's crucial to be honest with yourself about the negative impact that they have. List your habits once more, but only the destructive ones this time. Once you've made your list, it's time to get down to the difficult part: becoming mindful and consciously aware of the impact that these habits have. It's important to look at the impact from more than one perspective. Consider the way it affects your health, your finances, your relationships, and your reputation, even. There are many aspects in which the habit may be destructive. So, it's important to give yourself the time to truly analyze all the areas that are affected by any of those behaviors on your list. To approach the process effectively, start with the least destructive ones and work your way up to the more intensely destructive ones. That way, you're not overloading yourself. Tackling one habit at a time allows you to focus your energy and resources on breaking it, increasing your chances of success. Admitting the negativity that comes with these habits might be hard, especially when that negativity causes you to feel guilty or shameful. Regardless, you are only human, and all of us make mistakes. There are going to be times we repeat those mistakes because we don't see them for what they are. This does mean, though, that repetition of those types of mistakes can become bad habits. While the process of self-analysis and seeking feedback from those around you can be challenging, it can also be empowering because now you are fully aware. There is no longer a need to feel guilty or ashamed because you're taking the steps you need to make the necessary changes. You are actively breaking the cycle of destruction because you are self-aware and conscious of those around you, thus providing you with a healthier, more fulfilling life. The most common destructive behaviors and their negative impact. Just to make things a little bit easier for you, I thought it best to give you a list of the most common destructive behaviors that people have. This may help you to see that you are not alone in this. Everyone has their bad habits, no matter how big or small they may be. You'll see behaviors, habits that you or those around you might have, and it may be the first time that you're fully aware of them. We will also take a more detailed look at how these behaviors can impact you negatively, and in what area of your life they have this negative impact. Not flossing enough. I'm sure most of you have heard your dentist tell you that you aren't flossing enough, or they can see that you haven't been flossing. It seems like a tedious and annoying task to do daily, but it really does help keep your teeth and gums healthy. By not flossing, you run the risk of contracting infections or diseases in your gums, getting cavities between your teeth, and having bad breath. So, by habitually skipping that flossing session, you are negatively impacting your dental health, which means more trips to the dentist in the future and more money out of your pocket to pay for those trips. This bad habit affects your physical and financial well-being. Social media scrolling before bed. This one will probably hit home for many of you, as we have all fallen prey to the dreaded infinite scroll. I've been guilty of this myself, and it used to take a conscious effort to steer clear of falling back into this easy habit. Scrolling on your cell phone before bed is not only bad because of the amount of media that you are bombarding your brain with, but because of the light that it gives off. The blue light that emanates from the screens of our electronics tends to cause us to have bad sleeping patterns. So, this bad habit affects your mental well-being and your sleeping patterns. Smoking cigarettes. This one seems like it would be a no-brainer, but I'm sure some of you have this bad habit, possibly since you were a teenager. The nicotine addiction monster can be a very scary one to get rid of, and possibly one of the more difficult habits to break because of the chemical side to it. Nicotine is an addictive substance, which means that your body craves it when the supply is no longer in your system. It's similar to caffeine. Smoking not only affects your lungs, throat, and mouth, but it has a variety of negative impacts on your physical health. Smoking can lead to cancer, strokes, heart disease, emphysema, and bronchitis. It can also lead to health issues for those that are around you while you smoke. Smoking costs extra money that could have been better spent. And let's be honest, cigarette smoke stinks. Plus, those extra doctor's visits could be extremely costly. This bad habit affects your physical health, the physical health of those around you, how you're viewed in social circles, due to the cigarette smell, and your financial well being. Eating too much. This habit is something I think a lot of us have had to deal with at some point in our lives. I found myself overeating due to emotional issues or even boredom from time to time. Any form of overeating, even if it's with healthy food, can cause some health problems, specifically unhealthy weight gain. By overeating, you also run the risk of having high blood pressure, developing a form of diabetes or heart disease, or even raising the risks of getting certain kinds of cancers. So, this bad habit affects your physical health and potentially your financial well being. Not getting enough sleep. A lot of us like to think that a lack of sleep only causes you to feel tired, but there are so many more side effects that it can have on you, not only physically, but mentally as well. It affects your ability to focus and retain new information, consciously and subconsciously, which will affect your ability to form new habits. Physically, it may lead to things like high blood pressure, depression, diabetes, or even heart problems. We should all be getting between 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. Drinking too much. Of course, the first thing that comes to mind for most of us are the hangovers that tend to go hand in hand with overindulging in booze. However, you should also be aware of the palpable risk of addiction. According to WebMD, men who have more than 2 alcoholic drinks a day, an average of 14 per week, and women that have more than 1 alcoholic drink a day, an average of 7 per week, ran a much higher risk of having health issues such as liver disease, bone damage, kidney disease, heart problems, digestive issues, and even cancer. This bad habit affects your financial, physical, and mental well-being in a negative manner. Putting your headphones too loud. I love blasting my music so loud that I drown out the rest of the world and just become completely engulfed in it. I'm sure that a lot of us enjoy that moment to ourselves. However, it can have some quite negative impacts on you. For one, if you are continuously listening to loud music or are in loud environments on a regular basis, the chances are much higher that you will lose your hearing as you age. Hearing loss has been associated with things like brain tissue loss and cognitive issues. This bad habit affects your physical well-being negatively. Biting your nails. A lot of people tend to bite their nails due to feelings of anxiety, anger, frustration, stress, etc., or simply because they are too lazy to take the time to cut them. But biting your nails is not a healthy habit by any means. Not only does it not look very neat and tidy, but it can also lead to things like infections around your nail beds. There is also the health factor. The gunk under your nails is full of germs, bacteria, and dirt. Biting your nails gets all that gross gunk into your mouth and into your body, which could cause illnesses and diseases. Although this is not one of the worst habits, it can still negatively affect your physical health. Spending how much time alone? This one may seem like it's truly not the worst habit, because it can be a good thing to be able to spend some time alone with yourself. However, as humans, we need to feel connected to the people around us. It's all about the quality of time spent with them, not the number of people or how long you spend that time with them. But when it comes to spending too much time alone, it can cause high blood pressure, depression, and even some brain issues like Alzheimer's. It's important to make sure that you make time for social gatherings, even if it's just coffee with a friend or family member. Cracking or popping your knuckles or joints. I, unfortunately, am super guilty of this habit and find it relieving, while also enjoying the sound. However, my husband absolutely hates the sound. That sound your joints make when they're being cracked is the sound of tiny bubbles in your synovial fluid, which is liquid that helps your joint move, almost like lubrication. The problem with cracking your knuckles or joints is that you may find your grip weakening and find that your hand starts swelling as time goes on. Physically, it affects you negatively if the habit continues, as well as those around who cringe at the sound. Sitting in one position for too long. I know. This one seems difficult to remedy, especially if you work in an office environment or must sit in front of a screen to get your work done, which is exactly what I'm doing while typing this up. The modern office and business structures of this day and age cause a lot of us to be hunched over a desk for hours and hours on end. But sitting in one position for too long can start affecting your spine and posture. Not only that, but your metabolism slows down, which could cause weight gain and even heart disease. Luckily, there is an easy way to solve this problem: getting up now and then. Just getting your blood flowing and your body moving can help. Even just a 10-minute walk a day will help. Procrastinating. One of the easiest habits to pick up is procrastination, because it simply means avoiding things that need doing or finding other tasks to complete instead of the one that really needs to get done. I'm sure all of us have been guilty of this particular bad habit at some point or another. The problem with procrastination is that it hinders our ability to accomplish important tasks and can even lead us to feelings of depression and anxiety. Acknowledging this issue can help you develop a proactive mindset. Snacking on junk foods. I am a huge fan of junk food. Comfort foods, snacks, candy, soda pop, and pastries. Nothing quite like giving in to that craving for sugar or carbohydrates. The problem with junk foods is that they are usually high in unhealthy sugars that get into your bloodstream a lot faster than they should. This can lead to a number of health issues. These health issues include things like heart disease, diabetes, or even obesity if you overindulge. It's best to remedy this by making sure that you get better, more healthy snacks in your diet. Things with high fiber or high nutritional value, such as grains, nuts, and seeds, are a great place to start. Making continuous excuses. This falls under taking responsibility for your actions. I know, sometimes it's difficult admitting that you were wrong, or that your actions caused unwanted results. Making continuous excuses for things that have happened or things that you have not done that you were meant to do means that you never learn how to take responsibility. This, in turn, can affect your self-confidence. Making sure that you don't make excuses means that you are able to find that feeling of being in control of your own life, instead of placing blame or not admitting fault. Don't let shame or fear be the reason that you don't take control of your life. Becoming self-aware. Overcoming the challenges of breaking bad habits. Most of our bad habits tend to be based on unresolved negative emotions that we struggle to cope with. While that sounds like an excuse for our behavior, it's vital to recognize that it's not meant to justify or condone our destructive habits. It's a realization that these habits have a detrimental effect on our lives, and possibly others. In order to overcome the bad habits that we have and confront the challenges ahead, we need to become self-aware. While becoming self-aware sounds like a blanket term, it's extremely important when it comes to breaking bad habits. It calls for you to figure out why exactly you have the habits that you do, and what it is about them that drives you to keep taking part in those behaviors. When you're self-aware, it doesn't mean that you're aware of what you say and do, but rather having a deep understanding on why and how things affect us. Our health, our mental state, our careers, and the people that are around us. By becoming self-aware, we can take stock of our bad habits and uncover the underlying triggers, patterns, and beliefs that fuel them. Knowing what challenges you might face will help you to focus on them when the need calls for it. It can be scary knowing that by breaking these habit loops that you're comfortable with, you'll need to replace them with new things to take their place, or new things to focus on. The problem with these behaviors that we become so accustomed to in our daily lives is that it becomes so much of a routine that the idea of living without it can be daunting. A lot of the habits that are considered bad are possibly behaviors that you started to bring you some sort of comfort. The habit of having an unhealthy diet or overeating is one of the biggest comforting bad habits that are out there. I'd like to use as an example for this section. Having an unhealthy diet can be one of those destructive behaviors that you use to make yourself feel better and comfort yourself. But why is it that you feel the need to have that extra candy bar or snack on those cookies every day? What exactly is it that is causing you to need to comfort yourself? This is one of the things that you'll need to figure out with each habit that you are trying to break. In order to break them, you are going to need to understand the psychological reasons that you take part in these behaviors or habits. Some of the most common reasons for an unhealthy diet or overeating are heartbreak, shame, guilt, and utter boredom. While it may sound counterintuitive, we often turn to food as a means of filling an emotional void. This bad habit has always been a weak area for me, because food has the capability of making me feel happy and secure when I'm not. In this sentence, food is used to fill the hole that someone feels inside them. That hunger for more serves as a habit to comfort you and let you have control over something. By addressing the underlying emotions driving these habits, we can develop healthier coping mechanisms and find alternative ways to fulfill our emotional needs. It will be challenging to break a habit that you've had for so many years, and that will include having to also understand what environment or external factors trigger that behavior. Perhaps when a certain name is brought up, a specific topic of conversation is being had, or even simply something that reminds you of the hurt that you're going through. Either way, you are going to need to become consciously aware of what happens around you that triggers your need to take part in whatever destructive behavior you are changing. It's challenging having to admit fault and understanding that what you're doing isn't helping you lead the best life that you possibly can. And that's all we want from life, isn't it? Now, eating better and snacking less may seem like an easy habit to change. But when your usual snack time rolls around, you find yourself thinking about how great something sweet would be. This is when things get difficult because usually you just get up and get whatever it is you're craving. Now you need to make the effort to ignore the craving and get back to whatever it was that you were doing before it hit. That willpower and discipline that it takes to not have the extra snack after dinner or milkshake when you order takeout are what will keep your new habit formation going, as hard as it may be. Admitting the challenge that comes with breaking habits and forming new ones can be difficult, and you may want to give in and just go back to what you were doing before you made the decision to make the change. You may find that you need to avoid certain places, like that amazing bakery down the road, or avoid being around certain people, like the friend who always brings extra snacks. Don't worry, the avoidance can be temporary if you choose to make it so. But before you expose yourself to those factors, again, you'll need to break the bad habit associated with them. One of the most impactful and stressful challenges that come with making a change might be going to see a therapist about the reasons behind your destructive behavior. A lot of us struggle to admit that we need help. Openly admitting that we have a problem of some sort is not something that's necessarily fun to do. Be gracious with yourself. Therapy is one option where you can bare your soul and find a way to deal with the issues causing whatever bad habit it is that you have. Another option is finding yourself a support group. Each of these comes with its own unique challenges that will depend on exactly where you're at in a mental health capacity. And when you're feeling overwhelmed and undermotivated, you may find yourself regressing. Regression is one of the main things that you want to avoid. But remember, that does mean your journey is over, so long as you push forward once again and keep trying. The best way to decide what challenges affect you as an individual is to figure out what your dominant tendency is. Gretchen Rubin developed a test to figure out which tendency you fall under. These are the 4 different kinds. Upholders. These individuals need to make conscious decisions to make their desired change. Questioners. These types of people need information to understand the impact that their bad habits have on them and others. Obligers. These individuals need to be held accountable for their actions and need someone who is willing to do so. Rebels. These kinds of people need to make changes their own way, or they will fight against any changes that are suggested by those around them. It's so important to remember that breaking these bad habits will be a constant effort from your side. But honestly, things will get easier and easier as time goes on if you stay consistent. Before you know it, they'll be gone from your life for good. Take it all one step at a time, and you will be able to overcome every challenge that life throws at you and every bump in the road. No one is perfect all the time, but you've got this. This is one of the stepping stones to a better, brighter, and happier future for yourself, your family, and those around you. Chapter 3: Creating Positive Habits. And once you understand that habits can change, you have the freedom and the responsibility to remake them. Charles Duhigg. This is where things get fun. It's not all gloom and doom and introspective understanding, I promise. If you didn't have something in mind when you first started listening to this audiobook, you are now going to decide what positive habits you'd like to create for yourself and your life. You get to decide what wonderful thing is going to replace the destructive behaviors of your past. Time to reclaim control of your life and make empowered decisions that serve your best interests. After all, you've now seen that you have the power to change your habits. The smallest habits can make some of the biggest impacts on your life. In this chapter, we are going to look at how to create those small and not so small habits and how we can make them stick. It's easier to replace a bad habit with a good one than it is to just rid yourself of the bad habit alone. And this is where we will discuss the best ways to do just that. Practical strategies for sustainable changes. Making sure that you have some strategies at your disposal will probably be one of the best first steps to sustain the new, positive habits that you're creating. LiliaCoFootprints.com and CNN listed a few of these fantastic strategies that I like to share with you. Bear in mind that this is not a one-size-fits-all situation. What works for one person may not necessarily be suitable to your own situation. Thus, it is important to try to adjust each strategy to fit you. Habit stacking. Before you work out a habit plan, you may want to make use of a strategy called habit stacking. This is a strategy that was created by author James Clear. The strategy consists of using a habit that you already have, a good or neutral category habit, to cue the new positive habit you are trying to create. For example, I needed to start drinking more water in the mornings. After making my morning coffee, I take the milk back to the fridge, a neutral habit that takes place. Once I've placed the milk back, I grab my water bottle, which is placed near the milk, and I am cued to drink some water. Through habit stacking, you almost naturally create a new habit. Try to focus on only one change at a time. Changing all your habits at once will be extremely overwhelming and may cause you to give up before you even started creating new ones. By focusing on one change at a time, you'll be more likely to succeed, which will give you the motivation to keep making more positive changes in your life. Set specific, attainable goals for yourself. By setting specific goals, you can track your progress better. By specific, I mean that you shouldn't make it a broad goal. Instead of drink more water, make the goal drink 8 glasses of water a day. This way, you can track your water intake and see when you do well and when you're losing focus. More details on SMART goals will be discussed in the next subchapter. Repeat your new habit as much as possible. By repeating your new habit on a daily basis when first starting out, it's easier for it to become routine. Research done by University College London has shown that the more you repeat the new habit you're trying to form, the more likely it is to stick. Make your repetition fun and rewarding. There are some habits that you can transform into enjoyable and engaging activities. surpassing the initial perception of them being tedious or mundane. For example, exercising. Think of all those monotonous crunches, sit-ups, running on the treadmill, and working the rowing machine. Instead, you could explore other options, such as joining a dance class or learning how to box. By infusing fun and variety into your habits, you can not only make them more enjoyable, but also potentially involve your friends or loved ones in the process. If the habit can't exactly be made into a fun activity, like, say, drinking more water, you can bribe yourself with some form of reward. Just make sure that the reward doesn't stunt the progress of your new habit formation. Identify cues that remind you about your new habits. If you can use the habit stacking strategy, then you'll need to identify other cues that will remind you about the new habits you're trying to form. These cues can start off being something blatant, like an alarm set on your phone, or a reminder put on your daily calendar. This way, you can continue fostering and developing your new habits, even if you're the forgetful type. Try to stay organized. Staying organized can sound scary for those of us that aren't the most organized people. Some of you may even be trying to make staying organized part of your new habits. You can stay organized by keeping track of the habits and the progress you're making with each of them by using something called a habit tracker, or by simply using your calendar or diary. It helps you stay on track, focused, and helps you to hold yourself accountable. Chapter 4 provides a more in-depth discussion of accountability. Remember to be flexible when you need to be. Since this is a journey, it's important to acknowledge that there are going to be bumps in the road and times when your usual cues and environment are not around you. It will be necessary to make sure that you can be flexible and adaptable about how and when these habits can take place. For example, when you're away on vacation, you may not be able to go to the gym in the morning. So, instead, you can go for a walk or a run, or maybe even do a workout video in your room. This way, you don't miss out on the new habit of exercise that you're trying to create. Chapter 4 offers more details on flexibility. Find yourself social support that aligns with the new, positive habits that you're trying to create. No matter what the new habit is, there will always be people that are trying to achieve the same thing by fostering new habits. For instance, if you want to start exercising more but don't want to join a gym, chances are that you'll be able to find a social walking or running club that will be able to support you. It's important to find that support so that you have people to talk to when you feel like giving up. They will help to motivate and encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. Creating a habit plan. SMART. So, we've discussed all the strategies we can use to sustain our newly found habits, but we need to create a habit action plan to be able to use those strategies. Having a well-defined plan to work with will help you visualize what needs to be done. It will also be able to help you stay on track when things feel a little overwhelming. You'll know what to expect and what you need to focus on. With a detailed plan, you can decide when and under what circumstances these new habits will take place. It will also help you navigate any obstacles that come your way. I find that the best way to go about this is to make use of a well-known goal-defining technique called SMART goals. Author George T. Duran first described this technique in 1981. This technique is used to make sure that you are being realistic when setting these new habit goals for yourself, ensuring much better chances of success. To start, you'll need to understand what the definition of a SMART goal is. SMART, S-M-A-R-T, is an acronym used to describe the goal criteria, or in this case, the habit goal. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and relevant, time-bound. To understand this fully, we will look at each letter and the detailed meaning behind the word it represents. This technique is not only used for individuals that want to achieve goals, but it's been used in the business and academic industries for many years as well. That's how effective it is. So, why not use a tried and trusted technique for the betterment of your life and future? Before you start looking at setting your SMART goals, it's important to have a long-term goal in mind. In this case, it would be to create a new habit that will impact you in a positive manner. Specific. We touched on what it means to set specific goals in the previous subchapter, but there is more to it. It doesn't just mean taking a broad goal and being more specific about it. It's about making sure that you know what the expectations are. Because when you set a broad goal, it opens the door to miss the mark or forget about the goal. Therefore, it's crucial to set clear and specific goals, as this leaves little room for ambiguity and excuses. By being precise in defining your objectives, you create a framework that holds you accountable and minimizes the potential for procrastination or avoidance. There are a few questions you need to ask yourself when deciding on specific goals. What makes this habit valuable to the long-term goal of what I'm trying to achieve for myself? Where on my priority list will this habit fall? Where will this habit take place? What or who do I need to achieve this goal? Do I have a concrete plan or timeline set in place to achieve this goal? Measurable. Not all habits are immediately measurable, but it's possible to track specific aspects of a habit to measure your progress. How you measure these aspects is up to you. Being able to measure your new habit will help keep yourself accountable. It needs work for you and your goals so that you can stay on track and keep motivated throughout your journey. Here are a few questions you can ask yourself when deciding on the measurable goal. What information do I need to measure this habit? Where will I keep track of this information? A worksheet? My diary? What are some sensible occasions or milestones for this habit? What are the optimal and achievable outcomes for this habit? Striving for success without setting unrealistic expectations. How do I know that I've successfully created this positive habit? Achievable. You want to set yourself up for success, not failure, obviously. To do that, you need to ensure that the habit you've decided to set for yourself is attainable and achievable. You don't want to overwhelm yourself with a far-reaching goal and fear doing it before you've even tried. It also helps in preventing you from feeling unmotivated or upset if you don't achieve the overwhelming goal. That's what's great about specifying what your new habit is. You know whether or not you can achieve it. There are a handful of questions you can ask yourself when deciding on the achievable goal, which will help set you up for success. What circumstances or external issues could prevent me from creating and maintaining this habit? How much direct control do I have over this habit? Why do I think creating this habit is achievable? Knowing myself, can I say that creating this habit is realistic? What steps are needed to create this habit? Realistic and relevant. As mentioned in the achievable section, you need to make sure that you aren't reaching too far with the habits that you want to create. It's a process you need to walk before you can run. You also don't want to create a habit that's too simple and won't make a reasonable difference in your life. You also need to make sure that the habit you want to create is relevant to where you are in life now. Don't make the habit you want to create difficult for yourself by not being realistic about your life and circumstances. Here are some questions that are worth asking yourself when deciding on the realistic and relevant goal. How does this habit help me move towards my long-term goal? Am I in the right place in my life to achieve the creation of this habit? Why have I decided that now is the time to create this habit? Why was this habit not created in the past? How would I feel if I failed to create this habit? Time-bound. You want to make sure that you have a time frame when creating this goal. By doing that, you are motivated to keep at it because you have a starting point and an end point. Imagine going on a road trip and you can't see your destination. It feels tedious, but you keep going because you know what distance you're driving and how long it's expected to take. It also helps you take responsibility when you don't reach that goal in the time frame allocated. You may even want to break the habit down into smaller time deadlines to help you feel less pressured. It's worth pondering on these questions before deciding on the time-bound goal. What factors could cause me to be delayed in reaching my time deadlines? When and how will I check the progress of this habit? What do I do if I veered off track halfway through? What is the longest and shortest time frame for this habit to be completed? What other habits do I have that have been completed in the same time frame? Can I complete this new habit in the time frame I've given it? Will there be any times that the progress of this habit may slow down naturally? Example of a smart habit goal. The example that I'll be using is one that I've created in my daily life: drinking more water. I feel that this might hit home with a few of you that might be trying to do the same thing. So, how can drinking more water be a smart habit goal, you ask? Let's have a look. Specific. I want to drink 8 glasses of water a day. Measurable. I can use a water bottle that marks each glass of water, or I can write down each cup of 8 ounces of water I drink in my journal. Achievable. I can achieve this by drinking 1 cup in the morning before I have anything else, and 1 cup at night before bed. The rest of my water intake can be spread throughout the day. Realistic and relevant. It's a very realistic habit to create because humans need water to stay hydrated in order to live. It is relevant because I want to lead a healthier lifestyle. Time-bound. The 8 glasses of water need to be consumed before the end of the day. Since I get up at around 8 a.m., I can get my first cup in before 9. Then I can drink 1 glass of water throughout every hour and a half leading up till bedtime around 10 or 11 p.m. Positive habits for your daily life. You'll never change your life until you change something you do daily. The secret of your success is found in your daily routine. John C. Maxwell. Making sure that you have positive habits in your daily life is important because it's the little things that bring on the big changes if you are consistent. Small, easy habits are a good place to start if you're feeling overwhelmed by the bigger life changes you want to make. By having small, positive daily habits, you are helping yourself create a smooth and easy flow to your life at home, work, and within your social circles. It can lessen the stress of staying on top of everything when these things become part of your daily routine. Here is a list of some positive habits that you can easily introduce into your daily life, as well as the positive impact they could have. Getting up earlier. By adopting the habit of waking up earlier, you can truly wake yourself up and adequately prepare for the day ahead. This allows you to structure your day effectively, go through your morning routine, organize tasks in advance, and approach the day with a refreshed and motivated mindset. With this simple habit, you will never feel rushed to get yourself and whoever else you're responsible for ready for the day. Ultimately, rising earlier provides the opportunity to embrace a productive and well-prepared start to your day. Drinking more water. Unless this is already an ingrained habit, it can be difficult to embrace right away. Some of us don't really enjoy drinking water, but there are various ways to consume it, like fruit infusions or water flavorings. By increasing your water intake, you promote hydration, leading to improved focus, enhanced skin health, reduced fatigue, better digestion, weight management, and even relief from headaches. All in all, Drinking more water offers a multitude of advantages for your overall well being. Getting yourself moving for a few minutes a day. Most of us spend our days hunched over a screen of some sort, or sitting in the same position for long periods of time. I'm going to stay sitting for the time being so I can finish the chapter for you, though. I've already touched on the negative impact this has on us, but I want to reiterate that it really does have detrimental effects on our well being. To avoid this, you can get yourself up and about for 10 to 15 minutes, or longer if you prefer, daily. Whether it's taking a leisurely stroll with your dogs, or cats, or goats, or horses, or pigs, or chickens. Okay, now that's enough. If you said horses or chickens, now I'm just jealous. Exploring your garden, neighborhood, or a trail close to your house is also a great option. The key is to get yourself moving. This simple practice promotes blood circulation, lowers blood pressure, relieves back pressure from prolonged sitting, and keeps your joints flexible and mobile. Positive affirmations. This might sound silly or kind of unconventional to a few of you, but using positive affirmations to start your day significantly impacts your mindset and overall demeanor. Starting your day with empowering statements like, "Today will be a successful day, and I will achieve the goals," helps you approach the day with a positive outlook. If you struggle with self-esteem issues, affirmations like, "I am loving, strong, and brave," can combat feelings of self-doubt. The beauty of affirmations lies in their personalization and relevance to your own journey. Although it may feel awkward at first, practicing affirmations will lift your mood and enhance your daily experiences. Detoxing from technology for an hour a day. In our modern lives, we are immersed in social media and technology. From the moment we wake up until we close our eyes at night. If it's not the cell phone screen, it's work-related devices, television at home, or advertisements in public spaces. We need to intentionally disconnect from these distractions every day, get ourselves back into our own space, and be aware of our surroundings. This doesn't necessarily require a full hour. Even a brief period can have a significant impact. By unplugging, we can reestablish our own personal space, heighten our awareness of the blessings within our lives, and foster stronger connections with the people around us. Once in that state of being present, it will be easier to prioritize our focus on what is important. Brushing and flossing daily. Yes, I know that I sound like your dentist during those uncomfortable moments with your mouth wide open and they fiddle around with sharp tools, but as we all know, they aren't wrong. Brushing and flossing your teeth not only prevents you from getting cavities and gum diseases, but also helps keep your breath fresh. As such, it's a form of self-care. Even when you don't feel like practicing self-care, brushing and flossing your teeth leaves you feeling fresh and clean at the start and end of each day. Having a gratitude journal. It may seem like a childish task since you already know what you're grateful for. While part of that might be true, by writing them down and being consciously aware of everything that you're grateful for, you truly focus on the positive things in your life. Focusing on these positive things will uplift your mood and perhaps shift your mindset to being more grateful and aware of everything that you have. I don't know about you, but when I'm feeling grateful, I can't help but be in a better mood. This simple task almost always puts a smile on my face in moments when I'm disappointed or struggling emotionally from something quite negative. Making your bed. Some of us still do it because it was a chore that was instilled in us as children, or because of a form of military service. However, some of us simply get lazy and no longer make it a priority. The small and simple task of making your bed in the morning has been said to help you organize your thoughts and prepare yourself for the day and tasks ahead of you. Organizing your thoughts at the start of the day sets the tone for a positive and productive day ahead. Preparing for the day to follow. I do understand that there are some parts of your day that you can't exactly prepare for, because there are variables to consider. But if you prepare for the things in your control, you start the day feeling capable because you have everything you need at your disposal. Prepare things like your outfit for work and lunch the night before, and get your bags and goodies packed for when you need to leave or just have them ready for the next time you need them. These things will help you start the day with a clear mind and feeling like you can take the day on with no worries. Getting some fresh air. This can be habit stacked with the daily habit of getting yourself moving for a few minutes a day. Even if you simply stand outside for a few minutes and just take some deep breaths, it will have a positive impact on your daily life. Getting some fresh air every day helps us breathe deeper and calm our minds a little bit. Being stuck indoors all day can have a negative impact on our mental health, as we can become depressed and unmotivated. So, maybe have your morning coffee on the porch or take a stroll at sunset. It doesn't really matter how you do it, but just get outside and breathe deeply. Creating an easy and consistent evening routine. By establishing a personalized night routine, you can create a calming and soothing atmosphere to unwind at the end of the day. This routine allows you to reflect on the events of the day, address any concerns or challenges that arose, and mentally prepare yourself for the day to follow, thus setting the stage for a restful night's sleep, enabling you to wake up refreshed and revitalized. Make some time for yourself. This can be a difficult one to do because of how demanding your life might be. Whether it's your career, your family, or other responsibilities that you have, you probably find yourself pretty busy at times. However, it's important to take a little bit of time each day just for yourself. Amidst the noise, chaos, and constant demands of life, it's mentally and emotionally healthy to carve out moments of solitude and self-care. Allotting a small portion of time for yourself helps you gather your thoughts, regain a sense of composure, and control over any overwhelming emotions you may be experiencing. It provides an opportunity for introspection and nurturing your well-being. Remember, self-care is not a luxury, but a vital investment in your overall happiness and fulfillment. Make some time for your partner, if applicable. Relationships require effort and dedication, but they don't have to feel like constant work. As life gets busy, it's easy to overlook the importance of showing appreciation to our loved ones. Prioritizing quality time with your partner means that the two of you get to spend one-on-one time together and allows for meaningful connection. During this time, you can engage in open conversations, sharing updates about your day, work, the kids, and the rest of the family. It creates an opportunity to genuinely check in with one another and make sure that your partner feels valued, supported, and loved. Make these moments count and nurture the bond you share. Remember to be kind to yourself. Remember, you have been criticizing yourself for years, and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens. Louise L. Hay. It can be hard to be kind to yourself when you feel like you're failing. You need to remember, however, that you've taken the first step. You've admitted that there are habits in your life that are impacting you, your job, your loved ones, and those around you negatively. The mere fact that you've made the admission of not being perfect already sets you apart from many others. The severity of the habits that you are trying to break doesn't matter. You can do it. It doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down, because you can't get back up again. You hold the power to determine when it's over. Only declare it finished once you rid yourself of the things that have been holding you back from being the best version of yourself. Instead of beating yourself up every time you feel like you aren't doing well enough or aren't making fast enough progress, take a step back and breathe. Remember, being human means embracing the reality that mistakes are a natural part of life for everyone. You have just as much of a right to be happy and to lead a joyful and fulfilling life as anyone else does. Be gentle with yourself, because the world is a tough enough place already. Even slow progress is still progress, and you're still here. You're still fighting. You're still taking those steps forward. Don't give up on yourself. You've got this. Chapter 4: Maintaining Your Habits. In essence, if we want to direct our lives, we must take control of our consistent actions. It's not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives, but what we do consistently. Tony Robbins. The journey to creating positive habits doesn't end once you've established them. Let's now explore how to maintain them over time. As you may have noticed, consistency is a recurring theme when it comes to creating these new habits of yours. You need to bring consistent effort and constant awareness of your actions, as well as the impact they have on your life. After investing the time and effort into establishing these new habits, you realize just how much they bring to the table and the wonderful after effects of your continuous efforts. You won't want to give up on those and just let them fade away, not after all the hard work you've invested in them. Consider the age-old issue that a lot of people struggle with: weight loss. Just because the weight has been lost doesn't mean that you get to stop making the right decisions. Keeping that weight off and maintaining the healthy lifestyle that you've created will take consistent effort and focus. But here's the good news: it will be so much easier than it was when you started this journey of creating positive habits for your life and future. Embracing the journey. I don't mean just allowing yourself to go on this journey and taking it as it comes. The journey you're taking to change your habits can be overwhelming and intimidating. All of us tend to get anxious when it comes to changes, but as the saying goes, the only constant in life is change. It's important that you look at this journey as an opportunity to grab life by the horns and make the most of the changes that come with it. Here are a few ways to embrace the journey. Visualize. Imagine all the positive changes that will unfold in your life. Envision the impact that these changes are going to make and how they are going to improve various aspects of your life. Picture how these new habits are going to positively influence your career, relationships, friendships, stress levels, self-esteem, and ability to cope with daily tasks. Embrace the belief that if you persist, all these areas will experience incredible growth and improvement. Identify. Reflect on the changes that you see happening in your life because of the new habits that you've developed. Consider how these changes make you feel and operate on a basic level. Do you feel you're better equipped for work? Are you experiencing a boost in self-confidence? Is your skin feeling healthier? Are you able to manage your time better? Along with that, think about the emotions that come with it. Do you feel happy, elated, peaceful? The process of identifying changes may not always evoke positive emotions. Initially, you may feel fear, sadness, overwhelmed, or even angry in the beginning. Allow yourself to feel your emotions. Recognize the fact that these habits are taking you out of your comfort zone at first. Throughout the years, I've heard people say, a comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. I tend to think about that when faced with changes that scare me. Focus. Give yourself the time to focus on all the positive impacts that these new habits have had on your life, career, and any other aspect that they've affected. Consider even making a list of each thing that you find that has been impacted positively. Perhaps your relationship with your partner has been getting better. Maybe you're finding it easier to be prepared in the mornings. You might even see a change in the ease of everyday tasks that you used to avoid. It's possible you simply find yourself waking up with a smile more often. It doesn't matter what it is. If it makes you feel good and you see it as a positive, take note of it. Being able to see all the positives around you will help you to stay motivated amidst the changes that you've made. Expect challenges. No journey towards improvement is complete without challenges. Sometimes things are going to get difficult, and you might even want to give up. However, there are two things that I like to keep in mind when I'm feeling deflated and unmotivated. 1. God has a plan for you. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans for welfare and not for calamity, to give you a future and a hope. Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. And 2. My mom has always said, accept what you can't change and change what you can. During challenging times, it often feels effortless to surrender and revert to our old habits. However, it is precisely these difficult moments that shape our true identity. Welcome the challenges with open arms, and take pride in your accomplishments when you successfully overcome them. Ask for help. It's important for us all to remember seeking help is not something to be ashamed of. When things become overwhelming and feelings of hopelessness arise, know that it is not the end. I promise you that, no matter what challenge it is that you're facing, there is someone that is willing to help. If you don't have friends or family to turn to, there are support groups, online forums, therapists, and many other resources that you can turn to. You don't have to go through the hard times on your own. Even if you simply need someone to check in on you and ask you about your progress or how you're doing, just ask. You may be surprised at who answers that call. Maintain. Your routine may well become your saving grace when it comes to creating and keeping your new habits. Making sure that you maintain the routine of the habits you've created is the only way to truly ensure your success. It's all about maintenance. You will also need to have a look at your habits and improve or remove according to what you're hoping to achieve. Make sure that you always keep your smart habit goals in mind. Celebrate. I understand from experience the challenges involved in making incremental changes in your daily life that contribute to major transformations. Therefore, it's crucial to remember to celebrate or at least give yourself credit when you reach significant milestones. Treat yourself to something you love for a job well done. Allow it to be a rewarding experience because you truly deserve to celebrate your progress as well as yourself. Staying accountable. During your journey, you are going to make mistakes, and there are going to be times where you mess up and take a little bit of a stumble. That's okay. Give grace to yourself. Don't allow the little bumps in the road to veer you completely off course. You are stronger and more capable than that. I know you may feel defeated and unmotivated when there's a setback that happens or you slip up, but don't let it undo all your hard work. Making sure that you hold yourself accountable for the mistakes you make is an important part of moving forward and doing your best not to repeat the same mistakes again. Firstly, you need to acknowledge the fact that you slipped up or made a mistake. By admitting your faults, you become more consciously aware of what it is that you've done wrong in the first place. When you are consciously aware of your mistake, you're able to truly think about the impact that it has made, or potentially could make on your life. It's important not to ignore it, because pretending that it didn't happen or not addressing it could prove to cause more negative impacts in the future. If you feel that you're not able to look at it from an unbiased or non-judgmental point of view, it might be best to ask a friend, loved one, or a therapist. I personally used a therapist for years to help me with seeing things I felt I was missing, and it was very beneficial while I needed it. Oftentimes, I think there can be a stigma around therapy, but I found that a therapist can be similar to a life coach. However you self-evaluate, it'll help you be aware of how you ended up making the mistake and how you can avoid it in the future. When you make a mistake, you need to take it as a learning curve, a lesson, not a failure. To prevent yourself from slipping up again, there are a few questions you may want to ask yourself. Remember, you're not trying to make yourself feel worse. You are trying to understand the circumstances which led up to your concerns. These questions will help you understand the contributing factors to the setback so that you can avoid or change them in the future. You want to be able to set yourself up for success, And the only way to do that will be to have all the information you can about the situation. Here is a short list of questions you will want to seriously consider when faced with examining a slip up. Was there something about your circumstances that prevented or interfered with you continuing your newly created habit? Drinking more water, for example. Or a reason that you chose not to stop yourself from falling into an old habit, deciding to drink soda instead. Think about whether the new or old habit usually takes place in a particular environment, or if you had the resources you needed to act on them. What was happening around you or in your immediate space when you slipped up? Think about who you were with, what you were doing, and if there was anything around you that may have triggered it. What is it that you were thinking about before you slipped up? Think about possible emotional or mental triggers that may have caused you to veer off course. By making sense of the thought process before you make mistakes, you will be aware of them in the future and avoid repeating the same pattern that caused the slip up in the first place. There are many times when certain emotions trigger old habits. Those are emotions that potentially need to be dealt with and cast aside when it comes to the new habits you're creating. Don't allow your past to get in the way of a wonderful future ahead. What is it that you said to yourself after you realized your mistake? Think about whether you were gracious or nasty with yourself. This may help you see just how truly aware you are of the negativity that used to rule your life. It is important to remain conscious of the way we speak to ourselves, because that tends to play a part in our success. Be gentle and understanding of the fact that we all make mistakes. You are, after all, trying to prevent yourself from making them again. How did you feel after you slipped up? The way we feel about a slip-up can help us understand whether falling back into bad habits came from a need for comfort or a need to self-sabotage. By being aware of that feeling, you can find other ways to comfort yourself, or you can work on the understanding that you deserve a wonderful life. It's tough accepting love from yourself when you felt like you don't deserve it. Even though it can be difficult taking responsibility for your mistakes, it is something that is very important when it comes to creating positive habits that will benefit you. During moments when you find yourself feeling low or demoralized, that a moment to reflect on all the positive outcomes that are stemming from your current situation, make yourself a list of all the things that you've started to get better when you're feeling guilty or ashamed of your mistake. It's so easy to forget the positives when we're feeling like that, when, in fact, that is exactly what you should be focused on. We tend to be our own worst critic. At least, I know I am. The thing is, there is enough hardship in life that you don't need to add more onto yourself. Hold yourself accountable, but don't hold yourself hostage for the mistakes that you make. Your mistakes will not define you. Your successes will. And you have the tools to be a success. Use them. Flexibility and adaptability. Being flexible and able to adapt is not just about the circumstances or environment that you find yourself in. It's also about being flexible when you've made mistakes and adapting your approach when that happens. When faced with situations beyond your control, be adaptable and find innovative ways to continue practicing your new habits, even in challenging or uncomfortable circumstances. Don't let external factors around you get in the way of achieving what you've set out to achieve. GoHighbrow.com published a list of some of the biggest mistakes that people make when trying to change their habits, and it hit home for me, because I was guilty of almost all of them. But just because you slipped up doesn't mean that you have categorically failed. It just means that you might want to think about approaching your new habits in a different way that is more effective than the one that's currently being used. Let's have a look at some of those mistakes. We identify habits that aren't really habits of ours at all. Sometimes we like to think of certain things as habits simply because we do them now and then, or make plans to do them on a regular basis. But we need to remember that a habit is not something that needs to be planned to happen. A habit is something that takes almost no conscious thought. It's an automatic reaction to whatever cue triggers it. You don't have to think about putting the milk back in the fridge after using it. You do it automatically because that behavior has been instilled in you and cued when you've completed the task of using it where it was needed. We incorrectly identify our habit loops. We sometimes like to think of our habit cues as the first thing we do when taking part in whatever habit it is that we're trying to create or rid ourselves of. In reality, our cue is what happens before we initiate the habit, routine. We need to remember not to put our routine under the same category as our reward. Keep in mind that the habit loop is cue, routine, reward. There are 3 stages that we go through, and identifying one of them incorrectly could prevent you from breaking that bad habit you're trying to replace with a good one. We overwhelm ourselves in trying to change everything at once. When you finally come to terms and realize the habits that you want to rid yourself of, it becomes almost urgent. But you cannot change everything at once. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither are new habits. Trying to take on more change than you can handle will leave you feeling unmotivated and possibly even guilty. There's no reason to feel that way, but you do need to slow yourself down. Make the small changes, and the big changes will come. Be patient with yourself. We don't track our progress from the early stage of new habit creation. Tracking your progress helps you see how far you've come and when you are slipping off track. By keeping track from the beginning, you are able to hold yourself accountable when you don't keep up with your new habits. You're able to adjust your circumstances if you feel that the way you're approaching your habit isn't working. And you can see the progress of the new circumstances you've decided on. It's all about being able to visualize where you're at and how far you've come, while making sure that you're taking responsibility to maintain your new habits. We surround ourselves with the wrong kind of social support. Sometimes the social circles that we find ourselves in can be the cause of us making mistakes or slipping up. I understand that you don't want to lose friends or loved ones because of the changes that you're trying to make in your life, and you don't have to. But it's important to take note of the people that you're around when you start slipping back into old habits. Take note of how these people react when you tell them about the changes that you're trying to make and maintain in your life. Make sure that they truly support you in your endeavors, or simply restrict the time that you spend with them to avoid falling back into old routines. You may want to just thin out the people that don't truly want the best for you, even though it could be difficult. In the end, you want to surround yourself with people that love and support you, people that make it easier to maintain the positivity that you've gained from your new habits. We have too much faith in our own willpower. It's important to be realistic and acknowledge the ease with which we can slip back into old routines. This makes it crucial to recognize and minimize circumstances that may trigger those old habits instead of relying solely on willpower. Consider removing or minimizing the temptations that may cause you to make those mistakes again. For instance, if you find yourself struggling to resist snacking when you have snack foods in the pantry, perhaps it's time to remove them completely until you can handle the temptation. By minimizing exposure to triggers in the early stages, you give yourself the opportunity to strengthen your resolve. Eventually, as your inner strength grows, you can reintroduce those old triggers without succumbing to them. It's a gradual process of building resilience and self-control. Being flexible and adaptable means that when you find yourself making mistakes like the ones mentioned in the previous pages, you don't allow yourself to give up. It means that regardless of the variables around you, you find a way to make it work for you and the habits that you're creating for yourself. It means being adaptable and flexible in the face of unexpected situations or changes. Instead of getting overwhelmed, you can analyze the situation or environment and act accordingly. If you can find a way to work around these mistakes and better yourself regardless of the setbacks, then you will be able to master any habit that you decide you want to create. But remember, this takes time, and you can't be too hard on yourself. Keep yourself motivated and use the tools you've learned to keep yourself on the right track. You've got this. Chapter 5: Overcoming Obstacles to Change. Our very survival depends on our ability to stay awake, to adjust to new ideas, to remain vigilant, and to face the challenge of change. Martin Luther King Jr. Facing challenges and setbacks is a common part of the journey towards changes, and it's completely normal to feel apprehensive when you don't know how to deal with them. Luckily for us, there are strategies and techniques that can help us overcome them and successfully achieve our goals of creating a better life and future for ourselves. The trick is to not allow those obstacles to get in the way of our success. I'm going to discuss how we can do just that. First off, you never have to feel like there is no way around a setback because for every problem out there, there is some solution or workaround. You just need to be willing to really put your mind to it, or search for the solutions from another perspective. Remember, being too close to the situation may cause you to be blinded by fear, and that it can make it difficult to overcome the problem that you're facing. Take that step back and reconsider the big picture. Common obstacles that we are faced with. Obstacles don't have to stop you. If you run into a wall, don't turn around and give up. Figure out how to climb it, go through it, or work around it. Michael Jordan. I stated earlier that there is always a solution to a problem or obstacle that you might face. Even if you don't see one immediately, it's possible to create a solution that works for you. Most of the obstacles that come your way can only be overcome by you, because it may be something that you're putting in your own way. Leo Babauta, the founder of the Zen Habits blog, perfectly understood and described the challenges and obstacles that come with changing our habits for a better future. Babauta's insights help us sum up the obstacles that are common in times of change, especially when you are making a conscious effort. Take note of these obstacles and how you can deal with them. Guilt from past failures. Feeling guilty about your failures in the past is completely normal. But remember, you are not your past. You've taken the step forward to create a better future for yourself. Don't let guilt from things that no longer affect you cause you to veer off the path that you're forging for yourself. The changes that you're making might come with many mistakes along the way. We are all human, and so we make mistakes and we fail from time to time. You just need to make sure that you learn from the mistakes and failures that you've made so that you are better prepared for the future. Lack of motivation. Having your motivation dwindle may cause you to give up or simply avoid the task at hand. Sometimes things are going to progress slowly, but that doesn't mean you should lose motivation, even if the task or newly formed habit isn't the most fun thing to do. You should see every little sign of progress as a way to boost yourself and get excited. Motivate yourself however you need to, because it needs to work for you, even if that means making the more exciting habits first, because that will lead you to the rest. It might be best to do some things in a group setting so that there are people to hold you accountable for your progress and actions. Negative and intrusive thoughts. At times, we all encounter these kinds of thoughts. The ones that tell us we can't, we're not capable, it's too hard, or we're not worth it. But don't give in to that negative voice inside your head. When those thoughts arise, dismiss them as the baseless nuisances they are. Try to replace each negative thought with a positive one. And as difficult as it may be at first, keep at it. Eventually, those intrusive thoughts will fade away into nothing. Feeling that we don't have enough time. Life is busy. I understand that. But there is always an excuse to get to it later or make the change when you have the time. Or just simply letting it fall by the wayside and just not doing it at all. Enough with the excuses. Start off small with a new habit that will only take up a small amount of time. 10 minutes will even do. We all have 10 minutes to spare in the day. So, why not put that time to good use? Resistance from people in your life. Unfortunately, there will always be people that don't support you 100%. The thing is, you can't force anyone to support you or even see things from your perspective. It's a difficult situation because you have basically no control over it. There are ways to try and help them become more supportive by getting them involved in the changes that you're making. Ask them for their advice or help in some way. And when it comes to those people that simply cannot support you, the people that may hinder your progress, you may want to steer clear of them. Do so at least until you've made the changes you need and want. After that, their influence should have no effect on your positive, established habits. Being concerned about temptations. We all fall prey to temptations from time to time because, well, they're tempting. Sometimes our willpower just isn't strong enough to avoid giving in. I get it. You're trying to lose weight and your partner decides to bring home the most delicious-looking dessert you've ever laid eyes on. How do you say no? And if you give in, you make yourself feel guilty about slipping up. The best thing you can do is to remove temptations around you until such time that you're strong enough to let them tempt you anymore. Trust me, you'll be strong enough at some point. But that isn't always an option. So, from time to time, allow yourself to give in, but in small, moderated amounts. Also, try to reframe your feelings about it and think of avoiding temptation as another step towards your goals. Feeling intimidated or overwhelmed by all of it. This is the case with most of us. Looking at all the changes we think or know we need to make is extremely overwhelming. Where do you start? What are the changes that need to be made now? What changes can we wait until later? How do I schedule all of these new habits? Will I be able to do this? It's a lot to take in, and I can relate. Remember, you've been given the tools to break your new habits down into smaller, more achievable changes. You've been given ways to create these new habits in ways that work for you. Take a breath and start chipping away at what needs doing, one piece at a time. You are prepared. Fear, plain and simple. The feeling of fear covers many aspects of how you may be feeling when it comes to making changes in your life, especially when you set yourself an ambitious and exciting long-term goal. You may be fearful of the changes themselves, of the unknown, of failure. Fear is normal, and you are not weak for feeling scared. You're simply human. Making the changes that you need to make will need to be done in small steps. It's just like going up a spiraling staircase that looks like it will never end. The only reason it looks that way is because you're still all the way at the bottom. But as you take each step forward, you get closer and closer to the top. And there, you find everything you've been working for. When you're scared of big changes, make little ones instead. Not being able to stick to the plan. Some of us tend to veer off course from time to time. Maybe you're not very good at sticking it out with projects. Think about all those half-done DIY projects. That book you never finished reading, or that new shampoo you bought but never got around to trying. It's okay. We all slip up and get distracted from time to time. But losing focus all the time is part of a deeper problem. You may want to ask yourself why you can't stick to things. Are you scared? Do you lack motivation? Do you need help? Sometimes the best thing to do is to have a friend or support group that is able to help you take responsibility and steer you back on course when things go wrong. Other things in your life taking higher priority. So, you worked out your new habit plan. You've decided when to start. You have everything ready for the new changes in your life. And then, life gets in the way. Other things pop up that seem to be more of importance than making these changes in your life. Now you start to forget about everything you were looking so forward to doing. If you're able to make one change at a time, you can make that change a priority, even when life gets in the way. Focus on one change, and one that's become an automatic and unwavering habit move on to the next one. There is always a way to put one more thing on the list for your day, especially when it's something simple. Let's strategize. Alright, so we now know what kind of obstacles to expect when it comes to making the changes you need in your life. Our next step is to find ways to deal with them. There are different ways to deal with all of the emotions and craziness that comes with the obstacles we face when making life changes, especially considering the comfort you felt from your past habits. There are 3 techniques that I'd like to share with you to help you deal with everything that gets thrown at you. Each of these techniques has been tried and tested by everyday people, professional therapists, and specialists alike. By learning about them, you will be able to decide which technique works best for you in whatever situation you're dealing with. Aside from this, each of them is a wonderful practice to continue doing, regardless of where you find yourself in life. They will each bring something positive to your life and help you in ways you didn't know you needed help. And the best part is, you will be doing this for yourself. You can be the best you, which means you can lead a happy, efficient, and fulfilling life. Find ways to incorporate these techniques, and I promise that they will make your journey smoother, easier, and better than you had ever expected. Cognitive restructuring. I know that this sounds like psychology mumbo-jumbo. That's because it kinda is. But it's the kind of mumbo-jumbo that you can do yourself. You don't necessarily need a therapist to help you with this. Cognitive restructuring is a blanket term for groups of techniques that are used. However, if you are feeling overwhelmed by the idea of doing it alone, there are many therapists that specialize in this field of therapy. A cognitive restructuring focuses on your thought patterns and how you think. It helps you take negative thoughts and patterns and reframe them into something positive. Sometimes we need an outsider's point of view to be able to understand why and when we have these negative thoughts and under what circumstances the thought patterns tend to come to light. That's where using a therapist might come in handy. But bear in mind, you don't have to see a therapist for this. Here are some techniques to use in cognitive restructuring. A cost-benefit analysis strategy. No, this has nothing to do with your finances, but you could use it in that way if that is part of the changes you're making. What this strategy entails is looking at the negative way you're thinking or talking to yourself, then weigh out the pros and cons of continuing to do so. Ask yourself if it benefits you in any way. Does this thought pattern affect those that are around you? In what way does it cost you emotionally or physically? Does this way of thinking make your life better in any way, or does it take away from you? It's important to be honest with yourself about your negative thoughts. Be willing to rid yourself of them and reframe things positively for yourself. By looking at the pros and cons of whatever negative thought cross your mind, you can decide whether or not you want to change the pattern that caused it. A self-monitoring technique. To be able to change a thought pattern that no longer serves any good in your life, you need to be aware of when they start to happen. What is it around you that brings those kinds of thoughts to the foreground of your mind? It is important to truly take note of what is around you that triggers that thought pattern and why you feel that way. Perhaps you're nervous about making a speech for work that you've worked hard on. So, you start to doubt yourself. I'm going to stumble over my words. I'm going to mess up the speech, and they'll never trust me again. If I mess up, it's going to reflect badly on my work. Maybe someone said something to make you doubt yourself, and that triggered those thoughts. Or maybe you can't quite put your finger on it. But knowing that the thought pattern is taking place is a start. You may want to think about journaling and making notes about what the triggers are that cause you to think that way. By making notes, you're able to look back through them and have a better idea of why those patterns come up in the first place. Generating alternatives to your problems. By this, I don't just mean finding ways to avoid the problems like a lot of us tend to do. I mean that you need to look at the negative thoughts you're having and think about all of the different reasons that you think that way. It means being able to look at alternative ways that the world affects you and finding ways of reframing anything negative that comes your way. It's about making sure that you aren't so hard on yourself and you don't just give up when the going gets tough. Let's say you ran a race and ended up doing a lot worse than you thought you would. Instead of just assuming you're terrible at running and giving up after your first go, adapt the training that you did and find techniques that will help you do better in your next race. If you are having intrusive thoughts, find ways to use positive affirmations to help you get out of the negative pattern rut that you may be in. There are always alternative ways of dealing with challenges that are thrown your way. An evidence gathering technique. You're going to be gathering evidence about yourself, your thought patterns, what triggers those patterns, etc. Something you need to keep in mind is that negative thought patterns mostly stem from cognitive distortions that you may have about yourself or certain situations. As mentioned in the self-monitoring technique, journaling is a fantastic way of keeping your findings together. The reason you want to gather information is so that you can see how your cognitive distortions are completely biased, that you're being way harder on yourself than need be, or that your distortions are simply unfounded. Gathering this evidence will help you see how irrational those thought patterns are and help you find a way to change them. Listing the belief you have about yourself is step one. Then you need to find valid evidence that shows you're correct in feeling that way, and evidence that suggests otherwise. Be unbiased in the facts that you collect. Question your thought patterns and assumptions. This goes back to you having some distorted thoughts about yourself. You are your biggest critic and your own worst enemy, especially when you have serious or even not so serious cognitive distortions. You need to make sure that when you feel those intrusive thoughts or negative thought patterns creeping their way in, stop for a moment. Think about what you're thinking, then question yourself for every negative thing that crosses your mind. By allowing yourself to question the patterns and assumptions you have about yourself, you may just find that you were wrong. Look back at the evidence you've gathered from the other technique and prove your initial negative thoughts wrong. You are stronger, braver, more capable, and more driven than you might realize. Mindfulness. Mindfulness, a form of meditation, helps you to live in the moment and not allow your past or future worries to get in the way of where you are right now. This strategy helps you clear your mind and focus on the things that really need your attention. It allows you to be completely and intensely aware of your present moment. That is, what you hear, feel, smell, and see around you. Mindfulness helps you to look at the now without judgment or expectations. There are many ways that you can practice this. So, now, let's have a look at a few of them. Learn to let go of the past and stop worrying too much about the future. Living in the past won't do anything to better your future unless you're using it as a tool to learn from. But you need to make sure that you are not being too hard on yourself because of things you can no longer change. Being too concerned about the future is also something you need to learn to let go of because you're worried about things that haven't happened yet. You can't say what's going to happen in the future, as you're not a fortune teller. Allow yourself to take it as it comes and allow yourself the joy of now. Try to activate all of your senses. It may sound silly, but when you're unfocused on the present, your senses are dulled because you are not focusing on anything in particular. When you're trying to take your mind off of the past and future, it helps to think about what's going on around you from a sensory perspective. Take the time to first close your eyes, listen to the sounds around you, feel the fabric of the seat you're sitting on, smell the scents of the area around you, taste the air, and breathe deeply. Take each sensation in individually, and when you have, open your eyes and truly take in where you are right now. Focus on your breathing patterns. Breathing is something that comes to us so automatically that we don't think about it. It's one of the few automatic bodily functions that we can actually control. It is also one of the best tools to use when you're feeling stressed or anxious. perhaps even a little bit afraid. By changing our breathing patterns, we're able to calm ourselves down or even work ourselves up. It all depends on what you want to do. In this case, you want to calm yourself and your mind. Close your eyes and focus on taking deep and calming breaths. Breathe in through your nose as deeply and as slowly as you can, and then let that out calmly and as slowly as you can through your mouth. You will feel your heart rate dropping and your muscles starting to loosen up. When you're overwhelmed, focus on that breathing. It's something you can control. Be as kind and accepting to yourself as you would your loved ones. Accepting ourselves is a very challenging thing to do, especially when we've conditioned ourselves to be our own worst critic. It's important to be mindful when you think about yourself. You want to be gentle with yourself when you're having a hard time, kind when you're feeling blue, and perhaps even give yourself a loving kick in the butt when you notice that you're slacking. Whatever it is that you need from yourself, be sure to do it the same way you would for the people that you love. You wouldn't break them down and constantly remind them of their faults. So, don't do that to yourself. You deserve better. Pay attention and focus on the present. It sounds like a much easier task than it is in reality. Being able to just focus on where you are and what is going on around you right now can prove to be a difficult task. This is especially true when you're feeling stressed about work or school or whatever else that it's bothering you. When you feel yourself veering off course, try to focus on the immediate area around you. What's the temperature like? What is the lighting like? It doesn't matter what you focus on, as long as it's in the now. Try to practice your mindfulness when taking part in neutral habits. When you're taking part in neutral habits like showering, getting dressed, or brushing your teeth, try to practice your mindfulness. Focus on exactly what it is you're busy with. Pay more attention to how you wash your hair, how you hold your toothbrush, or the way your arms move when you put on a sweater. It doesn't matter what part of the task you focus on, but just focus on what is happening at that exact moment. It will help you be more mindful of all the tasks you do. Positive self-affirmation. Yes, by this, I mean exactly what you think I do. You need to talk to yourself nicely. I know that's a difficult task for a lot of us, especially because a lot of us use self-deprecating humor as a defense. This needs to stop. Affirmations are a lot like manifesting, in the sense that the way you talk to yourself is the way you're likely to feel about yourself. You know how if you're told something about yourself over and over, eventually you start to believe it. That's the concept behind positive self-affirmations. You will start to believe what you're saying, and it will lead to positive outcomes in your personal life, without a doubt. Even if it feels silly to do at the start, you will become more and more used to the idea of speaking your confidence or happiness into being. Take a minute or two each day. Look at yourself in the mirror and say whatever affirmation it is that you feel you need that day. Say it with conviction and say it with pride. Be proud and bold and chase out those intrusive thoughts by speaking them out of being. If you're feeling nervous about an interview, you could say something along the lines of, I am prepared for this interview, and I know that I am qualified for this job. This interview is going to be a success. If you're feeling a bit under the weather and your mental state leaves something to be desired, you could say something like, I am healthy and happy, and nothing can bring me down. My life is beautiful. It doesn't matter what you use. If you're positive and you give it all you've got, an affirmation a day keeps the worries away. If you're really struggling to come up with one for yourself, just ask the internet. I promise there will be something that works for you. Tips to smash those setbacks. Unfortunately, there's no way around it. There will be setbacks. It doesn't matter how perfectly you plan to make your changes, as inevitably something will come up that will make you feel like you've been pushed back a few, or a lot of steps. This is normal. and you need to be ready for these setbacks to occur. Here is a list of ways that you can smash those setbacks and take back control of your new life. Stop comparing yourself to other people. You are on your own journey, and they're on theirs. Your journey is a personal thing, and it doesn't matter how fast or slowly you're progressing. You're still progressing. Take the time to look at how far you've come and the changes that you've made. When everything feels a bit hopeless and you're lacking motivation, try to stay focused on all the positives that are coming out of the changes you're making. Look at what aspects of your life are becoming easier or better. Make sure that you appreciate the little things and don't let yourself dwell on any negative for too long. Where there are problems that seem impossible to solve, don't give up so easily. You need to use that wonderful brain of yours. Use the imagination that you have and come up with something out-of-the-box thinking to solve these problems. You're more capable than you know. Make sure that the changes you're making mean something to you. When your goals have meaning to you on a personal level, you are more likely to ensure that you do whatever it is you need to do. And you'll make sure to do it well. It doesn't matter if it means nothing to anyone else. Remember, this is your future. Try to keep a close group of friends or family that supports you in the changes you're making. Let them in on what it is that you're planning on doing and how you plan on doing it. Allow these people to help you stay motivated and accountable when it comes to these setbacks. If you make sure that you use the tools you've been given, you can overcome any obstacle or setback that is thrown in your direction. Set your sights squarely on your long-term goal for change. Nobody else can do this for you. You are the best person to be doing it. Chapter 6. Creating a Better Future. Let today be the day you give up who you've been for who you can become. Hal Elrod. Getting rid of your bad habits and replacing them with good ones is all about creating the best possible future that you can for yourself. Making these changes won't just affect your life, but it will affect the lives of those around you. Positive energy tends to do that. It doesn't matter how hard things get during the process, as the future is what you need to focus on. By making positive changes to our habits, we can take control of our lives and create a happier and more fulfilling future for ourselves. Benefits of positive habits. In earlier chapters, we discussed positive daily habits that you may want to introduce into your routine. We also discussed the potentially positive ways that they could affect your life. When you make positive changes in your life, it doesn't matter what aspect it affects, as the positivity will start to seep into the rest of your life. And who doesn't want a positive life and future ahead of them? Here are a few more habits that you may want to introduce into your life. They don't have to be daily habits like the ones previously mentioned, but do try to make them part of some form of routine. Here are some simple positive habits that you can develop and how they can benefit you in major and minor ways. Keep your promises. This may sound like a silly habit to mention, but it has been very important in my life. Not only do you feel better about yourself when you keep your promises to others, but you feel fantastic keeping promises to yourself. Introduce yourself more often. More often than not, we forget how to do this in a social setting instead of a professional one. Not everything is about networking, and it's important to remember your social side. By introducing yourself to more people around you, you broaden the interactions that you have and possibly your knowledge at the same time. It leaves you feeling good when you've had positive interactions on a social level. Catch up on world events. I know that there is a lot going on in the world, and it's difficult to keep up all the time. But by simply reading up on some of the week's events around the world, you feel more informed about your future and the futures of those around you. You may even find that it helps you take part in more conversations, leaving you feeling good about yourself and your general knowledge. Being aware of what is going on around the world helps you make better decisions for yourself, your family, and possibly even your business. Make sure to manage your money correctly. When you manage your money correctly and set aside savings for emergencies, you are able to focus on the important things in life without being stressed about your money. Eat a good breakfast or lunch. By making sure that you eat a good breakfast or lunch, and by good I mean a healthy one, you can boost your energy for the hours that follow. If you have a healthy meal, you will find yourself feeling more focused and awake, which means you can complete the day's tasks that much easier. Adjust your attitude when things aren't going your way. It doesn't help to get upset or throw a tantrum when things aren't going your way. You want to be able to make the best of a bad situation. Reframe the circumstances you're in and adjust your attitude towards them so that you can find a solution easier. Spend time planning your future and setting your goals. Being able to have a plan to work from will help you to feel less anxious about the future. If you have a plan, you can prepare for what needs to be done. Being able to see the goals you've set out for yourself and how far you've come will keep you motivated to continue making those positive changes. Surround yourself with people that make you better. If you're making positive changes in your life, you want to surround yourself with people that are also making these changes, or people that have already done so. By surrounding yourself with these kinds of people, you will want to do better and make even more of a success of yourself. Show gratitude to those around you. As silly as it may sound, showing that little bit of gratitude won't only make the other party feel seen and appreciated, it will also make you feel good seeing them smile. By showing others gratitude, we are projecting positive energy from ourselves onto those around us, and that will always find its way back to you. You may even find yourself appreciating more things in life than you ever did before. Dress appropriately with some personal flair. When you're dressed for success, you feel better about yourself and you exude more confidence. By making sure that you are correctly dressed for any occasion, you feel yourself walking taller and smiling broader. Even if you are dressing appropriately, add a little bit of personal flair, as it will make you feel like one in a million and show a little bit of your wonderful personality. Keep a journal. By writing down your progress, our feelings, and the challenges that we face daily, we are able to clear our minds for a restful night's sleep. When keeping a journal, it's all about reflecting. By writing it all down, you are able to look back and see where you can improve or how far you've come. Explore a little more. It doesn't matter if you're exploring the neighborhood or a new hiking trail. You can explore a new mall or a new restaurant, and you can even explore new avenues of income or career opportunities. The important thing is that you keep exploring. Find out about the world around you and experience as much as possible. New experiences and places will only bring joy to your life. And who doesn't want a joyful life? Creating a personal vision. Define your purpose and values. When creating a personal vision, there are many aspects of your personal wellness that need to be looked at. For each aspect, you want to figure out what your goal is for that part of your life. You need to define who it is that you want to be and what it is you want to put your attention and focus into. This way, you know what to work toward and what it will take to get there. These are the different aspects you want to define goals for: environmental, emotional, physical, social, spiritual, intellectual, financial, vocational. When you've defined your goals, you can start looking at the steps it will take to get you there. It's important that you look at your strengths and weaknesses and work alongside them. It doesn't help to set goals with steps that are beyond your reach. You know who you are, and it's time to show the world the best you that you can be. List what your personal values are and make sure that your goals stay aligned with those because they are a big part of who you are. You don't want to lose yourself in the process of making habit changes. Capitalize on the skills that you already know you have in order to reach the goals that you've set for yourself. If one of your skills is making lists, then use one of those to keep track of what you're doing and when. If one of your skills is building, use that to create an environment in which you can achieve one of your goals. This vision is all about you, and you need to make it your own. Maintaining motivation. There are a number of ways that I believe in when it comes to keeping myself motivated. And hopefully all of these, or at least some of them, can help you stay motivated when you are feeling a bit bleh. From time to time, you are going to feel like you're slipping and losing hope in the process working out the way it should. But fear not, dear reader. There are always ways around our obstacles. These are a few strategies that have helped me at some point or another. Practice some of the healthy strategies that you've learned throughout this book. If you feel that you need more ways to cope, find healthy coping mechanisms that you can use from the get-go. By making sure that you have healthy ways to cope with the stresses that come with change, you can focus on the positive changes being made. Make sure that you get enough sleep. Lack of sleep can make or break your motivation for the day. Each day brings you a step closer to your long-term goal and helps you create the future that you want. Don't let a silly thing like sleep get in the way of your motivation to keep getting better and doing better each day. Getting enough sleep will also benefit your overall health. Develop a good morning routine. Making sure that your morning routine is easy and productive so that you're able to start your day feeling prepared and motivated. An easy morning routine needs to cover all of your bases for the day. Make sure that it includes your grooming, preparation for the day's tasks, and anything else that might be happening. Starting your day off feeling motivated is the best way to keep up all the hard work you've been doing. Keep an eye on your progress. Making sure that you are keeping track of the progress you're making in every aspect of change will help you to learn and grow. You will be able to see where you need to pay more attention and where your progress is flourishing. By keeping yourself aware, you want to do more and get better each day. Set yourself a list of priorities for each day. When you set daily tasks and priorities for yourself, you are able to break down the changes into smaller chunks. This will make it easier for you to stay motivated without feeling completely overwhelmed by what needs to be done. It will also help you focus on things that are important, instead of dwelling on things that can't be changed overnight. Make sure that you keep yourself healthy and active. By doing this, you are able to alleviate yourself of stress and tension that might be building up. You are able to make sure that your body and mind are feeling good and able to deal with the changes that are being made. Keep friends or family up to date with your progress. Supportive friends and family will take an interest in bettering your life. Allow them to ask about your progress and if you are sticking to your plan. Let them hold you accountable if they see you slacking, and let their words of encouragement keep your motivation levels high. Last, but certainly not least, make sure that you allow yourself to have a little fun and let down your hair from time to time. Making changes to your habits is difficult enough as it is. So it's important to make time to just have a careless moment that is free of habits, schedules, and changes. Reward yourself for all your hard work from time to time. The anticipation will keep you going. It's important to keep yourself motivated throughout this process, even if it feels impossible sometimes. Find ways to motivate yourself, as it will be well worth the effort in the end. Because the result of all your hard work will be the life and future that you want and deserve. Your hard work will pay off, and you will be left feeling like you're on top of the world. The future is yours. Final thoughts and takeaways. So, now you know what it takes to rid yourself of those bad habits and create positive ones that will ensure you have the best and brightest future ahead of you. It's been quite the journey, and we've covered a lot. But through it all, you've gained the skills and strategies that you'll need to be able to get through your own habit-changing journey. Let's take a glance at everything that we've covered and how it will help you to create the best future. Remember to use this audiobook as a reference anytime that you feel you're veering off track or can't seem to remember how to overcome obstacles. You can always come back, like an old friend, to reintroduce things to yourself that you may have forgotten or to find the motivation you need. Through this book, we've learned to understand exactly what our habits are, why they matter in our lives, and the kinds of impact they can have on your daily life and the lives of those around you. We've explored all the ways that changing personal habits could benefit you and the potential obstacles that may get in your way. Remembering how and why habits are what they are makes it easier for you to decide when it's time to change or create new habits. We moved on to looking at all the psychological and physical reasons that habits are so hard to break. By learning why they're hard to break, we've learned how we can work around these issues. But before we're able to do that, we need to assess the habits that we currently have. We need to decide which of them can stay and which ones need to go. By categorizing your habits, you can see more clearly the things that you do habitually that you may not be aware of. We also examined a few things that will keep your journey moving forward: willpower, motivation, and self-discipline. These 3 things are essential to your success in changing your habits, and we discussed how to make sure you use them for the betterment of your life. The next step was to truly get into our bad habits and how to break them. We needed to take a step back and figure out how to identify the bad habits in your life. We learned how to weed the destructive behaviors out from the rest of them and to understand how they affect our lives and the lives of the people that share our environment. We had a look at the most common destructive behaviors that people tend to have and how they can impact your life in a negative manner. Sometimes it's tough having to admit that your habits impact more than just yourself. But that's why you've decided to change them in the first place. You're taking the first step, and that means something. We also touched on the topic of becoming self-aware. By doing so, you are able to truly understand and overcome the obstacles that may come your way. Because you will understand that this journey comes with challenges, no matter who you're on. No matter how you take it, it may be tough, but you're tougher. Then we moved on to the fun part, learning how to create the new habits we so desperately want. We discussed the strategies that you can use to ensure your changes are sustainable and easily tracked. The more easily sustainable a habit is, the better your chances are of creating it to last. We discussed how to create a habit plan by using the SMART goals method, SMART. It reminds you to keep specific criteria for each of the changes that you want to make. By making sure there is a criterion, you're giving the goal that you've set a much bigger chance at success and sustainability. Your goals must be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant or realistic, and time-bound for you to basically guarantee that you can progress the way you want it to. We discussed the positive daily habits that you could incorporate into your routine and how each of them can benefit your life in different ways. And then, there was the reminder to be kind to yourself. Oftentimes, in one's journey to personal growth and change, we're a lot harder on ourselves than we should be. If you were supporting someone that was going through the same thing, you'd likely be gentler and encouraging than you are to yourself. Think about that and decide to be kind to yourself. Then we discussed how to maintain the newly formed positive habits in your life. As wonderful as things are looking now, if you don't make an effort to keep the progress moving forward with these habits, your hard work may just fall apart. But you can always start again, which is one of the great things about this journey being all yours. We discussed how to embrace the journey that you're on, with all the bumps in the road, as well as all of the small and big successes that come from it. There are going to be times where you feel like you're on cloud 9, and there will be times where you feel like you're not doing enough. That's all part of the journey you're on. The important thing is that you don't give up. You need to keep yourself accountable for your actions and identify the slip-ups that you make, so that you can learn from them and do better in the future. It's important that you stay accountable and take responsibility for your own actions. But that doesn't mean you need to feel guilty, because you're not giving up. You're trying again. With all of that in mind, it's important to remember that this is not a one-size-fits-all type situation, and you need to make sure that you can adapt to the things around you that you can't control. You need to be flexible enough to allow variance in your cues and circumstances without it impacting your journey in a negative way. This is your journey, and there is no right or wrong way to do it. You need to do what works for you. Some of us like lists, some of us like calendars, some of us like digital, and some of us like using a good old pen and paper. This is about making changes in your life, and it should be done on your terms. We discussed that there are tools available for you to overcome obstacles, and we brought up the common obstacles that one will face when it comes to changing habits. There are many variables that could harm the process of a habit being formed, but that is not the end of the world. All you have to do is to always keep your goals in mind. We spoke about cognitive strategies that can be used to restructure your cognitive distortions so that you aren't hampered by negative thought patterns. We discussed how mindfulness can help your journey and set your focus on the present, so that you don't have to look back or stress over the future. Then we discussed how this journey will help you create a better future for yourself. We discussed other habits that will have positive impacts on your life and why you should incorporate them into your habit plan. We discussed how to create a personal vision through keeping your goals and values in mind all the time. We also reiterated how important it is to stay motivated throughout this journey. This isn't going to be an easy one, but to be able to progress and put your best foot forward in life, you need to be able to grow. Personal growth is important for all of us, and ridding yourself of habits that no longer serve you shows you that you are growing. Creating new habits means that you are no longer stuck in the rut that you were once in, and that you're gaining new skills that will help you take on life. This journey might have its challenges and obstacles, but you've been armed with every tool and skill that you need to face it head-on. With everything that you've learned, there is nothing you can't do. Take that first step, as scary as it might be. It's the step that will lead you to the best future you could ever have wanted for yourself. Nothing can get in your way now. Remember, you can use this book as a guide, but in the end, it's all up to you. Your journey is your own, and the challenges you face will be unique. Try to make sure that you will always have someone that you can talk to about the journey you're on, someone that will encourage you and give you praise for the progress you've made. This I recall to my mind, therefore I have hope. The Lord's loving kindnesses indeed never ceases, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Lamentations chapter 3, verse 21 to 22. So, no matter where you are at in your journey, and regardless of what happened today, tomorrow is a new day. Never give up on pursuing those changes that benefit your life. There is always hope.